We've got a very interesting sutta. There's a lot in it. So the best thing to do is just keep your mind wide and listen and see what you recognize. Okay? So rather than try and understand everything, what's really good is to see what you relate to in your own meditation experience over the last 5 or 6 days. Okay? Thus have I heard. It's MN44. It's called the Shorter Series of Questions and Answers. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Rajagaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel sanctuary. Then the lay follower Vasaka, went to the Bhikkhuni Dharmadina. After paying homage to her, he sat down at one side and asked her a series of questions. Would you like to give some background?
Yeah, so Dhammadina was a bhikkhuni, and Vaishakha is the husband. So at one point of time, what happens is Vaishakha comes after listening to the Buddha, and he realizes that he is a anagami. So now when he's in anagami, so he tells his wife that I cannot stay with you as husband and wife. So I will stay as brother and sister. Then so then he asks, Dhammadina asks why. So he says, I went to the Buddha and I am now an anagami. We cannot stay as. So I will support you if you want. But and there is one provision where the officer of the court, which is he is a businessman, but he is also a treasurer for the king, cannot become a monk. So that's the reason he is not kind of relinquishing his position. So then Dhammadina says that I want to become a nun, but I did not become a nun because of you. So he said, okay, I give you permission to ordain. So as soon as she ordains, and in a short time she becomes an arahant. Then he visits her just to speak with her.
Lady, identity is said. What is called identity by the Blessed One? Friend Vasaka, these 5 aggregates affected by clinging are called identity by the Blessed One. That is material form aggregate, the body, affected by clinging, the feeling aggregate, pleasant, unpleasant, neither pleasant nor unpleasant sensation. The perception aggregate affected by clinging, so that's the naming of things and memory. The formations aggregate affected by clinging, so these are the sankharas. This is basically all mental activity that's not feeling or perception. So it's an enormous bucket. It includes compassion, loving kindness, anger, hatred, indifference, joy, everything's in there. And the consciousness aggregate affected by clinging. These 5 aggregates affected by clinging are called identity by the Blessed One. So what's being said here is that our body, feeling, perception, this huge bucket of mental activity and consciousness are what we identify as me, mine, or my own. This is where our identity comes from. Saying, good lady, the lay follower Vasaka delighted and rejoiced in the Bhikkhuni Dharmadina's words. Then he asked her a further question. Lady, origin of identity, he said. What is called the origin of identity by the Blessed One? Friend Vasaka, it is craving, which brings renewal of being, is accompanied by delight and lust, and delights in this and that. That is, craving for sensual pleasures, craving for being, and craving for non-being. So these are the deeper passions that we looked at before, the asavas. But also, it's the part of us that you've noticed in your meditation that delights in this or that. So it's not only just these deep obsessions, it's the fabric of the way we relate. Yeah? This is called the origin of identity by the Blessed One. Lady, cessation of identity is said. What is called the cessation of identity by the Blessed One? Friend Visakha, it is the remainderless fading away, the ceasing, the giving up, the relinquishing, the letting go, the rejecting of that same craving. Oh, what's that in your practice? The 6 R's. Okay. This is called the cessation of identity by the Blessed One. Lady, the way leading to the cessation of identity, the way leading to the cessation of identity is said. What is called the way leading to the cessation of identity by the Blessed One? Friend Visakha, it is just this noble eightfold path, that is right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So we've basically got the 4 noble truths here. Instead, not couched in terms of suffering, but couched in terms of identity. The cause, the identity exists. This is the clinging to the khandhas. The cause, craving. The cessation, which is the letting go, the relinquishing of that craving. And the path. And it's just laid out the eightfold path. Lady, is that clinging the same as the 5 aggregates affected by clinging? Or is the clinging something apart from the 5 aggregates affected by clinging? The question here is the clinging identified, irrevocably with body, feeling, perception, the sankharas, and consciousness? Friend Visakha, that clinging is neither the same as these 5 aggregates affected by clinging, nor is clinging something apart from the 5 aggregates affected by clinging. It is the desire and lust in regard to the 5 aggregates affected by clinging that is the clinging here. So what you've got is these 5 aggregates which make up me, and what they're saying here is this is what is affected by clinging, but if you release the clinging by
doing what?
6 R's, the khandhas are still there. And there's a lovely passage, I think it's in the Anguttara Nikaya, which says the khandhas, when we release the clinging, are for our welfare and happiness. So it's so easy sometimes to see the khandhas as something we've got to get rid of, as it were. But that's not the case. It's our relationship to the khandhas that we have to work with. It's the clinging that we need to look at.
One of the things Sister Kema used to say is there was a lot of debate saying if somebody becomes an arahant, he does not kind of disappear in air. He's still there. So this 5 aggregates are still there. But what is not there is this clinging, which is not there.
Lady, how does identity view come to be? Okay, so identity view is this identification, sakkaya, own body. Okay, and one of the first realizations is the nature of this view. Here, friend Visakha, an untaught ordinary person who has no regard for the noble ones and is unskilled and undisciplined in their dharma, who has no regard for true men and is unskilled and undisciplined in their dharma. Okay, so they neither practice nor have they heard the dharma. Okay, regards material form as self, or self as possessed of material form, or material form as in self, or self as in material form. Now that sounds like quite a complex construction. Basically, it's saying any sense of attachment of the idea of self to form is covered in these statements. But there's a lovely note in the back here, which Bhikkhu Bodhi put together, which I think brings this into relief quite nicely. So he says, one may regard material form as self in the way the flame of a burning lamp or oil lamp is identical with the color of the flame. So there's an association of properties which are conflagrated into the one entity, the idea of self. So form is incorporated. Or one may regard self as possessing material form, as a tree possesses a shadow. In other words, it's by association. Yeah. Or one may regard material form as in self, as the scent is in the flower, but is clearly separate from the material flower itself. Or one may regard self as in material form, as a jewel is in a casket. So it's basically covering all the ways that we can identify with material form. He regards feeling as self, or self as possessed of feeling, or feeling as in self, or self as in feeling. So that's exactly the same for feeling. Pleasant, unpleasant, neither pleasant or unpleasant. Or he regards perception as self, or self as possessed of perception, or perception as in self, or self as in perception. He regards the formations as self, or self as possessed of formations, or formations as in self, or self as in formations. He regards consciousness as self, or self as possessed of consciousness, or consciousness as in self, or self as in consciousness. This is how identity view comes to be. Lady, how does identity view not come to be? Here, friend Vasaka, a well-taught noble disciple who has regard for the noble ones and is skilled and disciplined in their dharma, who has regard for true men and is skilled and disciplined in their dharma, does not regard material form as self, or self as possessed of material form, or material form as in self, or self as in material form, does not regard feeling as self, or self as possessed of feeling, or feeling as in self, or self as in feeling, does not regard perception as self, or self as possessed of perception, or perception as in self, or self as in perception, does not regard formations as self, or self as possessed of formations, or formations as in self, or self as in formations, does not regard consciousness as self, or self as possessed of consciousness, or consciousness as in self, or self as in consciousness. That is how identity view does not come to be. Okay? So, the 6 R's take us from that idea of taking something personally, some experience, in this case, working with the khandhas, and releases us from that because the craving is dropped. So each time we identify with that, we 6R and come back, and it reinforces this aspect. Lady, what is the noble eightfold path? Friend Vasaka, it is just this noble eightfold path. That is right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. I think the Eightfold Path is in the booklet, isn't it?
Yeah. So Bhante kind of mentions it in harmonious. So it is like harmonious perspective. So when you are having a perspective which is harmonious with the reality, then you have harmonious imaging. So what image you carry in the mind, happy image, good image. With that, harmonious communication comes into being. So how you communicate with yourself and with others. Bante used to say you communicate more with yourself than others. So you are most of the time blaming yourself. So you have to be more kind to yourself. That is the communication. When this harmonious communication is there, harmonious movement comes up. Harmonious movement of the mind. How your mind's attention is moving from one thing to another. When that is in line, then it comes to the next harmonious lifestyle. Bante did not believe in livelihood because he said that most of us was given to monks. Monks were anyways not having a livelihood. So it is lifestyle, he says, harmonious lifestyle. How are you living your lifestyle? Are you living with generosity? Are you living with smile? Are you living with mettā? Or are you living in another way? Then harmonious practice. So this is the 6 R's which you are doing. So that leads to harmonious practice. When the harmonious practice is there, harmonious observation, which is the mindfulness which is there. You observe how your mind's attention is moving from one thing to another and see how it is impersonal. Then it comes to harmonious collectedness. So how when your observation is there, your mind gets collected. One other thing Buddha says is, if you start with say right view, then right intention automatically happens because you are seeing from that lens. Then right intention automatically arises. You don't have to have a volition that right intention should arise. But if you start with the right view, the right intention arises. When the right intention is there, right speech arises. Because if your mind has right intention, then the right speech is there. When your right speech is there, right actions are there. So these actions are like not to kill, not to steal, not to cheat, all those things which are there, not to have, say, alcohol, all those things which are coming, right action. Now, when right action is there, right, this livelihood is there. When right livelihood is there, right effort is there. When the right effort is there, that is 6 R, right effort. When the right effort is there, right mindfulness. And then when right mindfulness is there, automatically right collectedness or concentration happens. So Buddha says that if you do the first thing right, if you have a right perspective, then all the other things happen. It is like there is rain falls on the hills, then it will go to the cracks. The cracks are filled, then the streams are filled. When the streams are filled, lakes are filled. When the lakes are overfilling, then it goes to the rivulets. When the rivulets are filling, it fills the river. When the river are filled, then it fills the ocean. In this way, if you start with the right view, then you end up with the collectedness. That's what the Buddha is giving encouragement.
Lady, is the Noble Eightfold Path conditioned or unconditioned? Friend Visakha, the Noble Eightfold Path is conditioned. Lady, so what is the unconditioned?
That does not depend upon conditions.
Give me an example of the unconditioned.
Yeah, very good.
The only example of the unconditioned. Okay. Lady, are the 3 aggregates included by the Noble Eightfold Path? Or is the Noble Eightfold Path included by the 3 aggregates? Now, I just need to explain the word aggregate here, because khandha, we were talking about body, feeling, perception, sankharas, and consciousness. These were the upadana khandhas. In other words, the aggregates affected by clinging. Upadana simply means heap or collection or association. Okay, so now the question is not relating to those aggregates, but it's saying basically, is the Eightfold Path included by basically, is it in 3 groups? The 3 yeah. The 3 aggregates are not included by the Noble Eightfold Path, friend Visakha, but the Noble Eightfold Path is included by the 3 aggregates. And those are right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Okay, so those are the sila. Okay, so every morning you recite the precepts. This is sila. Okay. These states are included in the aggregate of virtue, or sila. Right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So that includes the 6 R's. Right? These states are included in the aggregate of concentration or collectedness. Right view and right intention, these states are included in the aggregate of wisdom. So now we're beginning to see, just from that description, just how important it is to understand intention. It's a component of wisdom. In fact, of all the sankharas, that huge bucket, which was everything that can go on in the mind, apart from feeling and perception, the Buddha said the most important in that bucket is intention, Chaitanya. Okay. Lady, what is concentration? What is the basis of concentration? What is the equipment of concentration? What is the development of concentration? Unification of mind, friend Visakha, is concentration. Now remember, this unification is not a one-pointedness. It's a collecting of the mind to a purpose. Okay? So this is why Bhante preferred the word collectedness, because it's like harnessing the attention of the mind towards a purpose, not a thing. The 4 foundations of mindfulness are the basis of concentration. The 4 right strivings are the equipment of concentration. So what are the 4 right strivings? Don't know? No? What are the 4 kinds of striving that are the equipment of concentration? No. No.
Right efforts.
Yes, the striving, yes. Bhante Vedananta used to say, there's only one answer to the questions. 6 R's. Because the 4 strivings are recognizing the unwholesome is there, releasing away from the wholesome, bringing up the wholesome, letting the wholesome persist. And that's what we're doing in the 6 R's. Yeah. So the 4 right kinds of striving are the equipment of concentration. The repetition, development, and cultivation of these same states is the development of collectedness. The repetition. What do we repeat in our practice? The 6 R's. Yeah. This is why repetition is really important, because it leads to development.
And I like the word cultivation also, because cultivation means that how do you cultivate, say, rice? We can prepare the field, we kind of put in the seeds, and we also have patience. So there is one doha which is, dhire dhire re mana dhire sab kuch hoye, mali siche 100 gada, rutu aaye phal hoye. So it happens when the causes and conditions are right. So you have to kind of have patience also. The Bhante used to say that patience leads to nibbana. So one should have patience in the practice. So I think cultivation has that aspect of patience also.
How many times in your practice have you cultivated the conditions and then dug up the seed to see if it's growing? Yeah? Sound familiar? So, lady, how many formations are there? There are these 3 formations, friend Visakha: the bodily formation, the verbal formation, and the mental formation. Remember when we were talking about dependent origination, we had those sankharas. Yeah. Okay. But lady, what is the bodily formation? What is the verbal formation? And what is the mental formation? In-breathing and out-breathing, friend Visakha, are the bodily formation. So we can think of that also as any movement in the body. So the arising of tension would also be bodily formation. Yeah? The movement in your walking meditation is the bodily formation. Yeah? In the Saggita is the bodily formation. Yeah? Applied thought and sustained thought, or initial thought and investigating thought, are the verbal formation. So this is the verbalization in the mind, not the observing commentary, but the verbalization that comes in, the spontaneous stuff that keeps popping up.
So I think this means the speech. Huh?
Do you think this means actual speech now? Okay, so mental speech, but physical speech as well. And perception and feeling are the mental formation. Okay, so perception and feeling, those two aspects of the khandhas. Yeah. But lady, why are in-breathing and out-breathing the bodily formation? Why are initial thought and sustained thought the verbal formation? Why are perception and feeling the mental formation? Friend Visakha, in-breathing and out-breathing are bodily. These states are bound up with the body. That is why in-breathing and out-breathing are bodily formation. First one applies thought and sustained thought, or initial thought and investigatory thought, and subsequently one breaks out into speech. That is why applied thought, or this initial thought and
Thinking and examining
thought, are the verbal formation. Perception and feeling are mental. These states are bound up with the mind. That is why perception and feeling are the mental formation.
So one thing is all of the perception, which all the contact which is happening with eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, are all in the mind. We are talking about where it kind of operates. So that it operates in the mind.
Lady, how does the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling come to be? Friend Visakha, when a bhikkhu is attained, or a student is attaining the cessation of perception and feeling, it does not occur to them, I shall attain the cessation of perception and feeling. So this is really important. You cannot set a direction in the mind about the cessation of perception and feeling, because it comes about from releasing signs, not creating a sign. And an intention would be a sign in that sense, direction. Or it does not occur to them, I am attaining the cessation of perception and feeling. So there is no sensation in the mind which is going, oh, it's about to happen. Okay. It does not occur to him, I have attained the cessation of perception and feeling. So you don't know when you're in it. But rather, their mind has previously been developed in such a way that it leads them to that state. So it's the conditions again. Okay? Lady, when I...
The question.
Oh, okay. Yes. But devastating, aren't they?
In some practices, they say that all your sankharas exhaust out, and that's when you answer.
No. No.
Or all your cravings exhaust out.
You momentarily release all craving, yes, but the sankharas, no.
Momentarily, not even like.
No, they haven't been exhausted. They just don't arise. But it's not because they're exhausted. It's just that the conditions are not there for them to arise.
No. Before cessation, see, there can be two kind of school of thought in that sense. Cessation. One school of thought is there is only one cessation which is there, like in MN 111. there is only one cessation explained. So there is one single cessation. That time you have given up all craving. Thus your mind goes, not Sankhara. Sankharas remain, and then there are certain karmic results also Arhant faces, which we see with the Buddha having the back pain and Moggallana dying because of his relative attack him. So that are past karma which is there. But they are there for an Arhant which is there. So not all past karma or Shankharas are exhausted. But we here one has given up all kind of attachments. By giving up a craving, mind will enter into this thing because it is always holding on to something. It has given up, then it goes into this. So now one other way is to see the cessation as a progressive giving up. Means you would have a series of kind of this experience of cessation where you give up series of kind of attachments. So there are two school of thoughts which are there in this thing. So
A series of cessations is same cessation, but
yeah. So at one point of time, say if you have given up certain attachments, you may attain the path of Sotapanna. Then you may attain fruition in the next. In the next, you may gain the path of Saktagami and then attain the fruition. So that there are two ways of looking at it. So personally, my experience has with my experience, and that's the reason I don't give one way or the other any kind of judgment on that. Bante believed in the second path that you would get a series of cessations. But I would, because it does not align with my personal experience, I don't have a judgment on that thing. But conceptually or theoretically, the cessation can only happen when there is no craving, which you have given up the craving. It may be a part of the cravings, and you attain that amount of understanding which is there. You have given up a little, and it could be all of it, which may happen when you have given up all.
So that's
With the
just
city.
like a jnana rising, right? Like you kind of abandon certain aspects of your experience. You enter a state.
Correct.
It's similar to that, but
Correct.
bunch of
Very good, huh?
matlab,
Yeah,
that's
yes,
what-
very good. Yeah, that's a series of things. And in the sutras also, it has been explained as that giving up.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask you.
Huh.
But in the suttas, it's like not one cessation end of, but there are multiple.
That has not been clarified in the jhanas. I have never seen a sutta which says about that. But you can think about it in another way is in Satipatthana or any other sutta, the result of practice is said to be two, Anagami and Arahant. Now, Anagami has still some attachment, cravings left, or an Arahant. So there could be a cessation. And interestingly, this both of the categories have mentioned that they can attain cessation on will, on determination. Like Deepa Ma's story, I mentioned that she would sit for 6 days in this cessation experience because, as he said, there would not be even a contact which is there. So that state of mind can wish for it. So then the cessation could mean that you could come into Anagami status or an Arahant. Because nowhere in the suttas it has been mentioned cessation with the Sotapanna and Sakdagami. Sotapanna and Sakdagami have many references, but they are reference to other things like having faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, investigation. Generosity is one of them. That if you are generous and following the precepts, that is one of the, and you self-declare yourself as a Sotapanna. That is also one of the suttas they say. One of the sutta is giving generosity as a path to even an Anagami status. But you have to have that right frame of mind in generosity. Then there is investigation you are doing. Then by reflection you are accepting. So there are many different ways of becoming a Sotapanna. And then Sakdagami is just a Sotapanna who has enhanced his understanding. So that's the reason there is a weakening of lust and aversion. The Sotapanna can while practicing can step into that space of anagami, sorry, sakdagami. So Sotapan again walk into a space where he has given up the lust and means he has reduced his lust and aversion. And this state, Bhante says, is recorded as can also be attained by study. So, Sotapana and Sakdagami. So in Burma, they kind of had that understanding based on the scriptures that this two path can be attained by just study of the scriptures. Yes.
What are the arbitrary thresholds where one can say, oh, now the attachment have been weakened by this
So
degree?
the Buddha says you have to check your mind.
And so, but what's the threshold? How does one?
Well, I think the most important thing that Bhante and I, when we've discussed this, is that it's lasting behavioural change. So it's not a yes, and the colours are different. Yeah, it's much more, you notice a tone over time that things are different.
And that's a self-accusation in most cases. Yeah.
All claims are.
All favor self-accusation.
Yes, but with the small print on the bottom, capable of reviewing.
Isn't it 2 steps forward, 1 step back?
It could be because
Yeah.
Buddha also talked about overestimation.
Yeah.
The one example I gave about a teacher who thought he was an arahant, but his students kind of wanted to.
Craving. Isn't it like, you go to a dinner pass now, attend dinner pass, and you come out with a lot of your cravings at like very low place, and then, then it slowly builds back.
Yeah, that's why it takes time. I mean, there is a saying that, and I'm not sure if it's in the suttas, but that if how do you know if someone's an arahant? Well, you need to live with them for 7 years.
7 years.
Because they get enlightened in 7 years, right?
Well, no, because you
So
need
actually claim as well.
you need that amount of time to see them in so many different environments and to see what is consistent and what's inconsistent and all the rest of it.
One other way Bhante used to say is that if somebody else points out that your behavior has changed, that means that it is working, the practice is working.
So the cause and effect cause is actually all your cravings going away. At that point in time.
At that point of time, yes. Then when you come out, your taints are destroyed. That is mentioned in the sutta. That means that when you come out, you see those things. Oh, these are the things which are holding. So the deep-rooted attachments which are there are given up. Then those don't come up. That's the same understanding of the poison or the medicine. Then you know what is poison and you avoid it.
You just end up leading a better life.
That's a good way to think of it, because the other side to reflect upon is that this process is also developing a certain resilience to or within equanimity. And equanimity, an equanimous mind, has some of the properties that you associate with these stages. You're less likely to be reactive. But is this due to equanimity, or is it due to the fact that you've uprooted that aspect of personality? So you just need to just review and not be disappointed if you notice something come up, because this is about a relationship to truth.
And one other thing is that when there is a suppression which is there, that works differently, because when the suppression is not there, but they says that in his meditation, he would sit there, there would be any kind of noise or anything, he would not be kind of worried. Then as soon as he kind of goes back, and after a week or something like that, which is the experience I also had with experiences, then something had happened and his mind would just go ballistic. And that is because that suppression is slowly going. and then it kind of bursts out, and the hindrances come out with much energy, because when you are suppressed, you are giving it a lot of energy, and then you feel that I am overwhelmed with all the desires and everything, because the practice then is of suppression, not of understanding. When practice is of understanding, then you understand what is happening in the present. Even after you go out of the retreat, your understanding is keep on going on, because then you are applying the 6 hours automatically on whatever is there. Your mind is getting distracted, then you say, okay, relax, smile, and you come back just. And then that becomes a way of kind of life. You use it as a skill. One of the things I have say very many times is I learned a PowerPoint presentation, but they never gave us a chance to do a PowerPoint presentation. And then we forgot about that. After 6 months, somebody says, oh, you did a certificate of PowerPoint, just create a PowerPoint. I have no idea how to make it. So that is how you lose that skill. So,